The energy inside the WBA convention was electric, the kind of charged atmosphere that told you something significant was unfolding. The ballroom was awash with the flicker of camera flashes, a sea of reporters maneuvering for position, each eager to catch the moment. At the center of the chaos stood Jake Paul, a man who, in just a few short years, had gone from YouTube prankster to one of the most talked-about figures in modern boxing. Whether loved or loathed, his presence alone was enough to command attention. He wasn't just another name on the roster. He was the headline. The moment reached a new level when WBA President Gilberto Mendoza took the microphone. In the world of boxing, where every word from a sanctioning body carries weight, Mendoza's statement sent a ripple through the room. Calmly but confidently, he suggested that he wouldn't oppose sanctioning a title bout between Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. That single sentence shifted the tone entirely. The murmurs of conversation stopped. Heads tilted forward. Every journalist present sharpened their focus, waiting to gauge the reaction from Jake Paul himself. And true, to form, Jake didn't disappoint. There was no hesitation, no carefully rehearsed answer designed to smooth over controversy. He approached the moment with the same unapologetic honesty that had made him a fixture in both sports pages and social media feeds. "Look, I want someone tougher," Jake stated plainly, his gaze scanning the crowd of reporters. "I'm not here for participation trophies or some belt that's just there for entertainment value." His words landed with the sharpness of a right hook. In a single sentence, he had dismissed the proposed matchup with Chavez Jr. as beneath him. That statement wasn't lost on anyone. Chavez Jr., after all, is no anonymous contender. He is the son of one of the most revered fighters in boxing history, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. His surname alone carries the weight of expectation, respect, and cultural significance in the sport. For many fighters, just sharing the ring with him would be an opportunity to elevate their profile, to tap into a legacy that has defined generations of boxing fans. But Jake Paul wasn't interested in legacy by association. To him, Chavez Jr. wasn't a gatekeeper or even a true challenge. He was, in Jake's estimation, an opponent unworthy of the buildup. "Honestly, he's easy work," Jake added without flinching. The room reacted with the kind of hushed astonishment you rarely hear at press events. Whispers bounced from corner to corner. A man who had yet to fight a consensus top-tier opponent had just reduced a former world champion to little more than an afterthought. But Jake's demeanor didn't waver. If anything, the reaction seemed to fuel his resolve. "I want someone who's going to actually challenge me, someone who can shut people up." And there, in that sentence, lay the heart of Jake Paul's boxing journey. He wasn't just fighting men in the ring, he was fighting a narrative. Since lacing up gloves and stepping away from the world of YouTube stunts, Jake had been cast as the outsider, the interloper whose arrival threatened the sport's long-held traditions. The purists wrote him off, some with open contempt. The skeptics labeled him a novelty, a circus act whose moment in the spotlight would be as short-lived as it was sensational. Yet here he stood at a WBA convention, being discussed as a legitimate title contender. Not by fans, not by social media influencers, but by the president of one of boxing's most established sanctioning bodies. That alone was a testament to his staying power, his influence, and his undeniable ability to draw eyes to the sport. When pressed for specifics on who he considered a tougher challenge, Jake didn't offer a name. Instead, he leaned back with a slight knowing smirk and delivered a line that underscored his unique place in the sport. "There's a long line," he quipped. "They can take a ticket and get in line." It wasn't arrogance, at least not entirely. It was a reflection of the truth. For all the criticism Jake Paul receives, there is no denying the gravitational pull he exerts over the boxing world. Fighters from every level, from hungry prospects to veterans looking to extend their careers, want their shot at him, and the reason is simple. Jake Paul equals money. As he put it, "I'm the biggest payday in the sport of boxing right now." Many would scoff at the claim, but the numbers tend to back him up. His fights consistently generate impressive pay-per-view, buys, social media buzz, and post-fight discussion that most world champions would envy. Boxing, for all its history and honor, has always been a business as much as a sport. Jake Paul understands that dynamic better than most. He doesn't shy away from it. He embraces it. He went a step further, punctuating his point with a metaphor both brash and unflinchingly honest. When you're the hot girl on the block, you can do whatever the fuck you want. That single sentence ignited the inevitable firestorm. Critics labeled it typical Jake Paul bluster. Fans laughed, shared memes, and fueled the digital ecosystem that seems to orbit his every move. But for all the noise, Jake's confidence wasn't without foundation. He had turned an unconventional entry into boxing into a legitimate career, maneuvering through critics, doubters, and gatekeepers with an unrelenting focus on both business and personal growth inside the ring. But the conversation didn't end there. When the topic shifted to Amanda Serrano, Jake's longtime collaborator and friend, his tone shifted as well. The confidence remained, but the bravado softened into something more genuine. Serrano, a champion in multiple weight classes, and one of the most decorated female fighters of her generation, was more than a business partner to Jake. She represented everything he claimed to stand for: self-made success, fighting against odds and earning respect on your own terms. Jake Paul is the biggest boxer in male boxing, he stated, before adding, Amanda Serrano is the biggest boxer in female boxing. To some, the claim may have sounded hyperbolic, another soundbite designed to go viral, but the argument wasn't entirely without merit. Both Jake and Amanda had, in their own ways, disrupted the sport's status quo. Beyond belts and rankings, they brought audiences, headlines, and relevance. Their fights transcended the usual boundaries of boxing viewership, pulling in not only traditional fight fans but also casual observers and pop culture spectators. It wasn't just about punching power or technical ability. It was about connection. Their ability to forge a relationship with fans, to be more than just athletes, had made them essential players in a boxing landscape that increasingly demanded more than in-ring skill. They were influencers, marketers, and, most importantly, storytellers. Their careers were narratives in motion, stories of perseverance, risk-taking, and unapologetic ambition. These two are the faces of boxing from my perspective, Jake concluded, and few could argue that, at the very least, their visibility was unrivaled. And as for the critics who questioned why every fighter seemed to be calling them out, Jake's answer was as straightforward as ever. Everyone wants relevance, and fighting him or Amanda Serrano guaranteed exactly that. When the conversation turned to the potential of an Amanda Serrano trilogy, Jake's enthusiasm was palpable. He spoke of it not just as a sporting event, but as a cultural moment, a trilogy that, in his words, would transcend boxing entirely. While some might roll their eyes at the suggestion, history supported his optimism. The prior Serrano fights had broken records for female boxing viewership, introducing new audiences to the sport and proving that women's boxing could deliver just as much drama, excitement, and emotional weight as any male headliner. He recalled one fight in particular, the moment Serrano endured a severe headbutt that left her with a deep cut above her eye. 75 million people watched Amanda Serrano endure that, Jake recounted, the reverence in his voice cutting through the usual bravado. It wasn't just a fight, at least not to him. It was a symbol of resilience, a testament to what fighters, regardless of gender, could withstand. And beyond that, it was a story of representation, of visibility for young girls and women who, for too long, had seen boxing as a space that excluded them. So every girl, young lady, and woman is going to have a stake when that trilogy happens, Jake added. It was a moment of genuine insight, a glimpse into the part of Jake Paul that understood the sport's deeper significance. For all his posturing and polarizing antics, he seemed to grasp that boxing's evolution wasn't only about who held the belts or the size of the pay-per-view purse. It was about opening doors, breaking barriers, and shifting the cultural conversation. As the press scrum wound down, Jake thanked the assembled media, offering his usual mix of calm, calculated confidence. He walked away from the cluster of cameras, but the words he left behind hung in the air. The room remained abuzz, journalists scribbling notes, camera operators looking for reaction shots, and the online world preparing for another flood of opinions. Once again, Jake Paul had stolen the show. Love him or hate him, his ability to command attention was undeniable. Whether he was brushing off a former world champion as easy work or elevating Amanda Serrano as the future of women's boxing, Jake Paul didn't just create moments, he created conversations. In doing so, he demonstrated that boxing in the modern era isn't defined solely by decades-old traditions or the opinions of the old guard. It's being reshaped by those willing to challenge the system, redefine the metrics of success, and blaze a new trail, however unconventional it might seem. For Jake Paul, the fight has always been about more than the opponent standing across the ring. It's about rewriting the rules of engagement, rethinking the business of boxing, and forcing the world to reconsider what it means to be a legitimate fighter. And judging by the headlines, the conversations, and the ever-growing line of would-be challengers, he's succeeding.